This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, and you're listening to Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, a.k.a. the Python Hyena. And Shiloh 6, Chris Simpkins, my co-host, is in Halifax right now, not able to join me, but I got a wonderful guest. My second interview from class of 1984, my second interview from Bobbie Jo and the Outlaw, and she's an amazing woman, and I'm happy to talk to the lovely, the talented, and the absolutely beautiful Merrie Lynn Ross. Hi, Merrie.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great now that I'm talking to you. Yes, I've known you a long time through class of 1984, but before we get to you get an interesting webpage with an interesting theme. You see, I was a bully victim when I was in high school, and I've been in high school for 25 years, but man, I still remember it so well, and I know you're an advocate against that. Would you like to talk a little more in detail about your endeavors there?
Absolutely. You know, bullying, as we know, has become almost like a cliche word. We've heard it over and over again, and unfortunately, it has escalated to we've seen what's beyond bullying is violence, and we have seen suicides come off of cyberbullying, and actually we've also seen some very aberrated shootings taking place in Columbine at the beginning, which kind of set a tone for other copycats to spew up. And so what we did, we gathered a lot of filmmakers. I'm a writer. We wrote curriculums that actually have been in Canada as well. In Toronto, 2 million kids have gone through our Bully Solution program, which is called Peace Smarts. And that's making peacemakers in the classroom. And this month happens to be Bully Month, and I wanted to just say to anyone out there, you know, if you are bullying kids and other people, and you just think it's fun or you're in a habit of doing it, reach out and get some help, because a lot of you are being bullied at home. We know that. And a lot of you think that this is making you a macho guy or a really cool girl, and it's not true, because what will make you who you are is when you start growing into being able to communicate with other people and to be kind to others and to have friends that like you for who you really are. And so we have a program, and I wanted to address the bullies because no one talks to you directly. You know, it's not okay. You can be liked and not be aggressive. You got to learn to control yourself. So we have in our curriculum, Peace Smarts, and this is for the parents out there. You can get a copy of Peace Smarts, it's called, on Amazon. That's the curriculum. Give it to the teachers. Make sure you have a program in your school. And if you're the victim, we have ways where you can learn that you're okay, even if you feel ostracized by everybody else. So give yourself the opportunity also, if there is someone, you need one friend, buddy up. Don't walk alone. And we encourage the schools to make sure that the kids that are bystanders watching, you're part of it if you don't do something. And if you're afraid you're going to be bullied, it's okay to tell. You must tell someone. Tell an adult. And the teachers out there, pay more attention. Don't ignore it when a kid says this happened and this happened. I know you have a lot to do, but if you really realize this could be your own child, maybe it was you as a kid. So we all want to be more aware. We're in this together. We call it unity and community. And you can find the Bully Solution, which is the book, Peace Smarts, on Amazon.com. And anyway, thank you for letting us do this shout-out.
Oh, absolutely.
There's so much. I do entire shows on this, but we're going to talk about movies now, and that's the other aspect. You can wear many hats in your life. So kids, get a grip. You're cool. Peacemaking is cool.
I'm going to tell you a bully success story. You see, I was a bully victim in school, and I remember there was 3 guys that used to bully me growing up, and I ran into a couple of them a couple of years ago, and I never thought about the bullying thing. I was just amazed because I'm not in touch with many of my schoolmates, and I was amazed these guys were still friends with each other. And I ran into them a few years ago at a coffee shop, and it was interesting because they had completely changed. And I went over, I sat down, I had coffee with them, and I remember both of them had apologized to me for how they were, and they explained situations that were going on with them. And one of them has a kid now, and he was saying there's not a day that he doesn't think about me when he sees his kid goes to school. And I said to him, I said, look, you're forgiven. And I really appreciated them having chatted with me, and I'm really so glad they've grown past that, and I had no problem forgiving them. In fact, I was glad to see that they had become very good fathers.
That is just so heartwarming, because one of the aspects of healing from being a bully or being bullied or being the bystander is learning forgiveness for yourself, number one, and then to be able to forgive others. Because if you continue with guilt or blame or shame, it's very hard. So that's wonderful, because that is a solution. A solution also is sitting together when you're young, in the middle of all of this, where a school has a program where you can sit in the round in the morning and share how your day is starting out. And, where you start seeing that we're all one in a particular way. There goes I. We all hurt. Words hurt, too. And people ignore that. Oh, sticks and stones will break your bones, and names will never hurt you. Well, that's not true.
That's not
true. And we've seen it through the word naming on cyberbullying, which they are doing. They're trying their best to have people. There are search engines looking around, or crawlers they call them, I guess, that are picking out things that kids are saying inappropriately or threatening or belittling. And so this is all good. So thank you. I loved hearing that.
Yes. And, of course, you've done some interesting movies. I have never seen Bobbie Jo and the Outlaws. The only reason I know about it is because Mark Lester did a commentary track on Class of 1984, and he mentioned that was the movie that Stedman was watching on television when he was at the apartment. And, of course, you worked with somebody that I had the pleasure. I love Belinda Balaski. It was such an honor to talk to her, and what a nice woman. And
she is the best. She's so talented, and she's a great human being and a dear friend. I adore this woman.
Yeah.
And talent beyond talent.
Yeah, she hooked me up with you, and I had somebody tell me just Sunday night, he said, that's a sign of a good interviewer when somebody helps you get another interview. And I was, well, I guess that's good for me. But
absolutely, because, I think that this is a world of connectivity now, how we all connect. We connect on the Internet. We connect in different ways. It's very different than back in the day. Back in the day, we used to pay people to keep us out of the tabloids, where today we have Kim Kardashian would probably stand on her head nude to be in any tabloid, and is in all of them. And I'm not putting her down. I'm just saying I'm glad that we were more about our talent, we were more private, and we had a more private life. And when we did go out, I was on a show 30 million people were watching. I starred as daytime's first comedian on General Hospital, and I had no clue. We're working in a basement, we're like the little shoemakers down there, shooting 100 pages a day. And we went. I was doing another movie in between shooting General Hospital, and I'd been doing it maybe 3 months. And we happened to be on the border of Canada and the United States at Niagara Falls, and I had on this yellow slicker, and I was with my friend, and we were walking, and all of a sudden someone screamed out, "There's Emma Lutz!" And that was my character. And they started charging at us. There were about 15 people coming like a herd, and we started running. I mean, we're close to the edge of the falls, and I turned around, and my friend said to me, and by the way, it was Mark Lester, because we were up there shooting another film in Canada, and he turned around and he said, "You're a star." And I had no idea, because it was the fans that would chase us in those days, not the paparazzi.
Yeah. I hate it when people confuse fans and paparazzi, because I hate it when they make movies. Like, I remember Robert De Niro did a movie in 1996 called The Fan, and it was about him stalking a baseball player. And why don't they ever do one where the fan makes these people have $20 million careers? I guess that don't sell tickets for them, but they'll make a movie that makes us look like a bunch of crazy stalkers. I hate that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But I got used to actually back then we would start isolating ourselves more. In other words, you would go out for dinner, and I played a character, let's say on that show on General Hospital, that people adored. I giggled, I was silly, I was dumber than, they were all more superior to me. The character was actually known for her giggle, and people would come up and want to hug me, and they would say great things, and, "Oh, we love you. When I hear your giggle, it brightens my day." And then there was once playing, the one cheating with the husband, and they would look at them and treat them as though they were not good people. "How could you do that?" they would say. I mean, it was unbelievable, because we were in their homes during the day, and it was a whole different world. It's kind of like probably what YouTube's becoming, when people are sitting and watching families just eating dinner. It's like a connection with a day-to-day mundane living. Of course, General Hospital is far more exciting than that, but I can see where you become family to the viewer, and it's different than film, because film is the place where you're in the womb, you go into the dark theater, and you enter another world, and you can vicariously go through that world, visually and emotionally, every other way. So I love the shades of difference in the media, in the different values that can be brought to each one of these, whether it's television, film, or YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. It's Merrie Lynn Ross, but it also, I play a character, which is me actually, called the Beverly Hills Shaman, who runs around and could get into any red carpet, go anywhere, go out and hike with the kids. I also recently became a naturalist, which is a ranger. I don't know if you have those in Canada, but you do. You have the Mounties, right?
Yes, we do.
Oh, I mean, I'm like Goldie Hawn in this uniform running around, and it's fun. And, we don't wear a badge, but we wear the uniform. We're naturalists. And I did that because our new curriculum has to do with peacemaking in community, which includes the environment. And kids come into this 605-acre park, which has hiking trails, and it's so amazing because we film this, and we film different aspects of how we can respect the environment. and that becoming stewards of the land is so important. That we, and once you're out there with nature, it becomes a whole different you in life. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. I was 10 years old, I think, when Class of 1984 originally hit theaters. And I'm going to tell you, when that came out on Blu-ray this year, I bought it. And that's a movie I've known for a long time. I love the music by Teenage Head. I play the song Little Boxes, actually, on my show, which you can hear when they're back into the office area where the girl's getting nude. You can hear Little Boxes play. But... and Alice Cooper's music. And I had the pleasure, as I said, back in June, I interviewed Lisa Langels. I absolutely adore her. I'm so honored to talk to her. I always liked her, and she is still beautiful today, too.
Absolutely. She's a classic beauty and was adorable in that film. But you were saying that you... did you see the new Blu-ray with Belinda in it, and I was in it too?
Which one?
Class of 1984. Oh, no. No, that's Bobbie Jo and the Outlaw.
Bobbie Jo and the Outlaw.
That's the new thing that Belinda and I are both in.
Yeah, I've never seen that, and we have no video stores around here, so I had no way of seeing it.
Well, Netflix would have it.
Oh, does it?
I'm pretty sure. I would guess it does, or one of those that you could rent it on demand. It's on Blu-ray now, so I don't know how you get your Blu-rays, but however that is.
Either on Amazon or I go and order one. I'm actually be picking up the Criterion version of Dressed to Kill here a little later on. They just came in on an order for me. But, I'd love to see Bobbie Jo and the Outlaws, and you were in that, and Wonder Woman was in that.
That's right. I was also in the Wonder Woman pilot because Linda Carter was a great friend of Belinda's and mine because we all were in the same acting group, along with Elvira and some other wonderful people that went on to do tons of work. And we all kind of bonded together and supported each other. I actually executive produced Class in 1984.
I
don't
know.
If you're aware of that.
I know. Actually, I was asking Lisa Langels about that because she mentioned in her performance that they didn't have her really doing anything, so she ad-libbed a lot of the stuff, like taking picture during the rape scene and smashing the bottle and stuff like that. And she did a lot of the ad-lib stuff. And I remember you had done some background stuff with Class of 1984. You were a real trooper during the rape scene. Like, how did you prepare yourself for that?
When you're acting, physicality, people don't realize it's probably the easiest thing to do. It's if you're talking and the threatening is happening, but once the physicality starts, it's almost like an animal instinct where you don't have to feel the fear, you're in the fear. And when these boys started what they were doing, which wasn't graphic, you couldn't see it.
No.
But you're living those moments, and it's almost like you're blanked out. I can't explain it. It's like you're just there struggling and fighting, and but I was always, I don't know if you know this, I've written scripts. I wrote the first 9 to 5.
Oh, I love that movie.
I was always a writer. Since I was a little kid, I was writing something. And Class of 1984, I came in and wrote a lot of the scenes. And with the writers and with Mark Lester, the director, we did a lot of it together. And I was trying to come up with a solution to this. I hate to give away the end of the movie if no one's seen it, but It's a war between a teacher and an incorrigible kid. And the storyline is these are middle-class kids, and this infuriated people. They would say, these aren't inner-city kids that are deprived and this and that. These are our kids. That's right. We did something quite prophetic. We even put in, and I came up with it with Mark, that we would have metal detectors in schools. This was before they ever had them.
And that was shot in Canada,
these
too.
Incorrigible kids were middle class. They were goth. They were dressed in black. They had long nails. They were scary looking, actually. And we did one other thing. I mean, here we are creating what ended up, unfortunately, when Columbine hit, a prophetic world.
Yes.
And we punched in. I was going back to another thought. How is this teacher going to justify actually fighting this kid who's then raped his wife, and yet he still is the teacher? So I came up with the idea that if she were pregnant, there would be nobody.
I was going to mention something, too, because you were a little more sympathetic towards Stegman at the end than he was.
That I'm not, I don't remember.
No, I remember, like whenever he was dangling there, and
oh, yes.
Yeah.
But you know what? Do you know what saved that movie? Our distributor at the time, I think it was United Artists, but there was Mark Damon was our foreign distributor, and Mark has done, many films. He's won Academy Awards, and we were in the final stages of releasing the film. And we're all sitting there watching it, and I'm saying the producers and, the director, editors, and there was something wrong with that ending because you weren't sure if he actually, the teacher actually threw him off of this balcony that he was going to go down, or did he? So we reshot one shot in that film, which was the Stedman character, the bad kid, throwing a punch. And that close-up punch was where Perry King, who was playing the teacher, had to defend himself, and that's when the kid went down.
Yes.
And that, I'll tell you, any screening I went to, everyone was on their feet applauding. And they wouldn't have done that had he not defended it. It's very subtle, these things, in filmmaking. It's just a slight shot that reaches the subliminal, gives justification to what you're trying to say in that film.
And Timothy Van Patten, so talented. I remember talking to Lisa, and she said there's certain people from the film that don't talk about it. And I remember she had told me who I could contact and who not. And
I call Michael J. Fox.
Huh?
Michael J. Fox.
I haven't reached out to him. I don't know whether I could get him on here or not. But
Michael is, he went on to other things, and he's not well now. I wouldn't reach out to him.
But Stefan Arngren, though, he said he'd come on whenever we book something.
Well.
But I remember Lisa was giving me ideas because she said there's certain people like Timothy Van Patten, I guess, is not happy about some of the stuff that went on in the film. And he was so talented, too. What a great performance and the piano playing that he actually did.
Timothy Van Patten could have been a superstar.
I agree.
And what happened, I even talked to Timmy, and I've been friends with his brother was Dick Van Patten, and he was younger than Timmy and Jimmy Van Patten were. What's his name? There were several Van Patten.
There was one in Rock and Roll High School too. I forget which one it was, the blonde one.
Right, and anyway, what I was going to say is that I said to him, Timmy, you are very powerful and you could really act. He said, I don't think I'm going to really follow that too much. He wanted to be a director, and as we know, he became an Emmy Award-winning director.
Yes.
And directed some of the best television going.
Yeah, Boardwalk Empire, yeah.
Boardwalk and other, I know he got some awards last year. And I've been friends with their family through the years, and unfortunately, God bless them, we lost Dick Van Patten this past year. And there was an incident where Timmy was playing. He was the star of the show.
I agree.
There's no question about it.
Yep.
He had a little gang, but they were smaller players, and there was one fellow who probably didn't even get a credit. He was an extra. And he and Timmy became friends. And this kid was thinking this was going to be his breakthrough role, and he would try to upstage Timmy at different times. And Timmy would sort of let him do it. And what I mean by that, he would throw in a line or do something that wasn't appropriate. So all the kids were like mutiny. They were like, we want more attention. We want to be on more shots. This is my perspective, not Lisa Langlois. She was one of the kids. So they all were going to complain. And I said, wait a minute. You can complain, and remember, I'm still the executive producer, even though I'm acting. And I said, here's what this is. We signed individual contracts with you, so I must talk to you individually, not as a group. Now, that diffused a lot of their, kid energy. Oh, we don't like this. So one by one. But when we got to Timmy, and I said to Timmy, I know you want to be liked, but this is important. It's your role. You're starring. And you have to step up when that kid does certain things. And I'm going to talk to him. So I talked to each one of them, and they were able to still be friends. And I told the other young man, because he was gifted and talented, he could make it eventually. And I said to him, watch Timmy, because you will have your chance, but this isn't the part. This is the part for you to learn and to grow. And so part of what I loved about my entire career has been that I've been able to be on both sides of the camera. And when I'm acting, I am the actress. Yes. I drop all of that, and when you're producing, my whole goal in producing was to get the best out of each person, the maximum of their potential, and to gently help them get there. That they always had a friend to come to talk to, and to support them. And that was true not just with the actors, but with the crew and the director.
Yes.
And on bigger films, unless you're the head of a department, you can only talk to the head of the department. You can't talk to, if it's a union film. And some of our films were and some of them weren't. So I learned so much. But I learned, back to our original conversation about bullying, I learned that kindness and to be truthful, just to tell it like you see it or how much the person can handle, is the way to be. And so that's kind of how you live your life. Either you're going to be a stand-up and let people criticize you too. They're, not being a know-it-all. I learn every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, but, even a lot of talent on that film, even the gangsters, I was surprised to learn that Neil Clifford, the guy that had the chain, that I heard that he was actually a dancer, and you can kind of tell by the way he moves, and that was very effective.
I think I know who you're talking about, but I'm not sure.
He was the one that met his end on the table saw. The guy that swung the chain.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, yes, and you're painting a picture when you do a movie.
Yeah.
It's not, a literal photograph. You have your sets, you have subtleties, the lighting, where you decide to use, like we had red lights toward the end, and it was eerie, and when the kids walked, that's how you're creating horror pictures. You're creating in violence. Less is more. I say that a lot of the work I do now is an atonement for doing these films.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, Mark Lester happens to be quite brilliant, and he was a social activist. Mark recognized there was a problem that could be coming. And so even though this had gratuitous, in a way, violence in it, it had, scary things happening, there was this undertone of, whoa, what is this where our society is breaking down and going? The lead boy's mother was a single mom raising her child.
Yes, absolutely.
We depicted, and she was working hard to make a living, and she was a good woman, and so watching the dynamic, the social dynamic that was created in all films that have a shelf life. This is a cult classic. It has a shelf life because there's some universal truths that seep through the violence, seep through the appearances, because it's been thought about. Now, if there was any improv that Lisa remembered, it would be because you're filling in moments. And
yes.
That until you're on the set sometimes and you see it. And if you listen to, recently I was with Al Pacino, and he was speaking about the craft, and you don't know it sometimes till you see it. And there's very few writers that you can't change a line. Maybe Neil Simon. You're not going to mess around with Neil Simon's work. But when you're creating a new world like this, there has to be some spontaneous moments. Yes, and there's a few things I choose not to discuss because I would have to discuss it with the person that played the part first. That's having a respect.
Yes.
For everyone. I want to be respected. Now, if I don't give that, how will I get it? Now, creating that character, by the way, because I think you want to hear more about Class of 84, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Class of 84, Perry King, who's another terrific actor, Perry King.
Yes.
He played a teacher, and he played my husband.
Yes.
And it was our first baby. I'm supposedly pregnant.
And you look stunning in it.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
But I'm I was probably 100 pounds. I don't weigh much more now, but I was very thin. Anyway, they had to puff me up a little with the tummy. But Perry had children. I didn't.
Okay.
It was before I had my son and everything. And we were the day we found out on film, we're playing a scene that I'm pregnant, I say, oh, you should toast, we should have a toast. And he says, now this was, we were thinking of something to add to the scene. He said, no, when you're pregnant, you should not drink. We don't want to send that message out. Now, I didn't know that.
Wow.
And I said, Perry, what are you talking about? He said, you don't have kids and you haven't researched this. I said, you're right. I haven't. Okay, what do we do if we don't toast? It was that kind of thing. I don't know if the toast is in there or it isn't in there. But there's a learning curve because you're trying to bring reality to the screen. We're not cartoon characters, although I've played a lot where I think I was. I starred as Marion Davies in a 13-hour miniseries, and it was the life of Winston Churchill called The Wilderness Years. And that's a whole other story. How does an actor get a part? How I was up against stars for this role. I knew that and I was starring on something on TV. I was a star, but not the level of some of these other people that were up for this role. And do you want to hear more about this?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm all ears.
So anyway, I'm athletic in my spirit. Okay? What does an athlete do? You know, you work hard, you practice, and you run that race, and you run it full out, and you don't think about, I'm not going to win. You're running at the best you can do, and you may win, you may not. Okay. So here I am up for this role, and I'm contemplating what would give me an edge. So I went to a bookstore in Hollywood, the one bookstore, right? And I say, do you have any books on Marion Davies? And she was a silent film star. She was Randolph Hearst's love. He built Hearst Castle for her.
Okay.
Need I say more? Okay, so now I'm in the bookstore, and he says, yeah, I happen to have one book that is about her. And I said, really? And he showed it to me, and I saw what she looked like, and I thought, my eyes slant a little bit, hers a little rounder, we could do this, that. Okay. I said, how many books do you have? He started counting. He said, I have 8 books. I said, I want to buy all 8 books. And can I return some of them in a couple of days? Because I'm not going to really read them. He said, do what you want. They're returnable. I buy the books. Now I know I'm the only one in town that has this book. So I look at it, and I find out that she had a slight stutter. She was a silent film star, and one of the reasons she didn't translate to the big screen was that, hello, how are you?
Yeah.
She studied and had kind of an English accent, not really, but because she worked so hard on her voice, she really pronounced her words right and had a lyric that I don't have in my voice. So I practiced that, and I have a makeup friend, artist, who made up my face to look identical to her.
Ah.
I stayed up all night with these hair crimps in my hair, which are metal things to get this kind of wave that she had that they wore back in the 30s or whatever it was. And it actually was 1929 when Winston Churchill was ousted from England. He couldn't get work, and he worked for Randolph Hearst here and on the paper.
Wow.
So anyway, now I've sat up all night in this, and I have an outfit that out of my own closet that assimilates what she had on in that cover of the book. I'm as close as I'm going to ever get to it.
There you go.
All right. So I arrived for the interview, and one of the producers, they were from England. This was PBS, and or the BBC rather, and he's in a wheelchair. And I walk in the door, and I have the book in my hand right next to my face as I'm coming through with the book. And I throw out my hand, and I start to, it's a pleasure to me, I start to stutter. This man in the wheelchair tried to get up. He said, if I could walk, that's her, the living Marion Davies. Oh, my God, I can't believe we found her.
Wow.
Now, outside in the waiting room were a couple of bigger stars. And I thought, and then I read for the part, and I left. And I thought, whoa, that was really, my looks made it. Let's see if I didn't hear anything. And I thought I'd hear right away, and I didn't hear anything. And 9 o'clock that night, my phone rang, and it was my agent. And he said, you got the part.
Wow.
I said, well, what took him so long to call? He said, you know, the union here requires that when a foreign company is coming in, they have to interview everyone before they make a decision. So they were, he said, said, the producer said, the second you walked in the door, you had the part.
Wow.
Now, why would I spend this kind of time to tell you that story?
I find it fascinating.
Well, yeah, and it's about giving your all. No matter what we do in life, is to really give our all and to stack the deck. I had all the books. If someone else wanted to research that, maybe there was another bookstore, but they didn't do it. They came as themselves, and I've done that too. I'm not saying I always go all the way out for something, but anyway, I wanted to share that because I've played parts that were so different than myself, and I played Julie Nixon with a dark wig in a movie. And Julie Nixon, it was during when Richard Nixon they were all looking for the tapes. What happened to the tapes? And we made a comedy about it. And playing her, I had to research and understand what is it like to be the daughter of a president who's going through this nightmare.
Yes.
And what is it like to how do I feel about it? Am I being maybe bullied at school for this? Am I being taunted about who my dad is? Am I defending him? Am I embarrassed and shamed? That's what we do as actors. And we go into wearing a different suit of clothes. I studied with Stella Adler, who's a great teacher. And I remember once I was up for another part. I ended up luckily getting a series that she coached me for. But when I walked in, I had these certain shoes on, and she said, wait a minute, your character would not wear those shoes. Why are you wearing them? I said, well, I just came in. No. When you put on a pair of shoes, and any gal can attest to this, if you're in stilettos, you walk a certain way, you feel a certain way, you move a certain way. If you're in combat boots and you're walking, you feel another way. You're more grounded. And she made her point that your shoes are one of the most important things that an actor chooses.
Wow. I got another couple of questions about Class of 1984. One, what is your memories of Roddy McDowell? Because he was incredible in that movie, especially the classroom scene where he's teaching with the gun.
Oh, brilliant. Roddy and I were friends, okay? And he lived near me, and I would spend dinners at his home, and he always had interesting people, and I'll digress 1 second. One of his dearest friends, as most people know who know anything about him, was Liz Taylor.
Okay,
they more or less grew up together as kids doing movies and all kinds of things. And Liz Taylor ended up doing General Hospital. And so Roddy ended up inviting me to dinner with Liz. And he said to me, you will be her friend on the set. And that's a whole other story, but I will answer you. I don't want to digress too much, but the Liz Taylor thing was amazing because she and I did become friends. And I watched the brilliance of that woman. And if you want to hear more, I'll tell you. But in the meantime, I'll go back to Roddy. Roddy was so believable that the kids didn't have to act when he pulled out that gun and was terrorizing the class. He was a teacher that was fed up with the bullying, with how the kids were taking over the school, and how he had the ability to get into a role. And he was great at, I don't want to use the word neurosis, but that's one of the better words, of getting so dramatically entwined with the character that I don't think my character had any scenes with him, so I was always observing.
What about the picnic scene? You were there at that.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That was kind of a smaller scene. Yeah. Yes, that's true. And that's when I think he was cracking up. He was starting to crack.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me.
I know that movie well, as Lisa found out. Like, I pointed stuff out about her performance that she was like, thank you, that stuff that she had done. So I know that movie very, very well.
Because I was used to playing far more flamboyant characters than my character in that, which was sort of a very staid, young mom who, I always said, when I cut my personality, I'm boring. It's like they hire me for a little larger than life and this and that. And that required me just to be normal, whatever that is. And it wasn't easy for me because when I say it wasn't easy, I think there's some actresses that when they do that kind of normal role, they're more interesting because they're not as much of a comedian or, they're not, I can't explain it, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
And then in the reviews, I was surprised at how I got good reviews. They were saying, she really had a solid character. She was, and I remember the word adequate in one of the reviews. I was used to much more glorious words. And so I looked it up in the dictionary. What does adequate mean? And I was shocked. Adequate to me was kind of negative. But when I really read the meaning of it, it meant somebody that does what's expected of them. And they do it well.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
Now, Roddy, we won awards. We won on that picture. They had the Academy of Science and Horror Films. We won the Academy, the national award that year. And Roddy McDowall won Best Actor or Supporting Actor.
In class of 1984?
Yes.
Oh, wow. He deserved that.
He got it. He got that award, and he was a humble man, and a caring man.
Yes.
And we miss him.
Yes, I remember when he passed away, like between that and Fright Night, I mean, I thought he was an incredible presence. And
yes, and if any of the people out there saw the film, the intensity, you can't give someone that.
Nope.
They have to know how to reach in there. And what a pro he was. I think he started acting when he was 9 years old.
Well, back in the 40s at least.
Huh?
Back in the 1940s at least.
Yeah.
He was in Lassie.
That's what I mean. He wasn't 7 years old, or, he's just a little tyke.
Yep. And
we're settling for a lot less today. There are some great young actors coming up, but we're settling when we have these reality nonsense shows, and they're the stars of this world. It's kind of scary to me because they're not really actors. They're not bringing anything to the table. If anything, it's so much of it is a denigration of the human spirit. And a lot of films are B movies. That's why I'd love to invite you to see Bobbie Jo and the Outlaw, because they don't make movies like that anymore.
I'm going to eventually see that.
Yeah.
Just to see you and Belinda, I have great respect for both of you.
Oh.
Yes, I do, and one other quick scene I wanted to point out too, and when Lisa brought this up when I was chatting with her, that one scene that made her and Timothy Van Patten so uncomfortable and was a scene back in the office where the girl had to get nude, and she said the girl was actually very, very uncomfortable shooting that.
I don't even remember that scene, and I don't know if it's in the movie.
Oh, it's in the movie, yeah.
I don't recall that. I probably wasn't there when they shot that, or I just don't recall.
Yeah, it was when they were at the punk rock place there, and there was the fighting, whatnot, that little concert, and then they went back in that back room.
I remember the back room, but She has to be of age to do that part. Let's clear up.
Oh, yeah. Well, she would have been, yeah.
Let's get real here.
Yeah.
Nobody's being forced to do anything.
No.
And, how do I know how uncomfortable somebody is if I'm so uncomfortable? So I would challenge Lisa on that one. Because if she was uncomfortable, she does not, unless the girl expressed it, I have no idea. Sometimes we're feeling for the person. And that's part of acting, too.
That could be true, yeah.
I mean, I have no idea. I don't recall it. It's not that I'm choosing to blank out. I really don't. But I can guarantee you that the girl wanted the part and that I doubt that we auditioned, But nudity, I never did nudity, by the way.
Okay, yeah.
I starred in over 35 shows. I never did nudity. I've done bikinis. I've done a bra and pants that looks like a bikini, but I chose never to do that. And that was, we're going to not talk about Bobbie Jo and the Outlaw. We can talk about that at another time. But when it has to be in a contract, because if it isn't in a contract, you can't use that footage. The person can come back on you. They can't say you forced me, because they're of age and they signed a contract. Now, my gosh, look at what the word nudity has grown into in today's world. Our major stars are doing it.
Absolutely.
I chose not to do it. And I knew from the very beginning. I started working very young in Detroit on a television show. I did lots of, it was shot in Windsor, Canada, called Dance Party. It was in 5 states. It was like American Bandstand. I was one of the major people on it, became a youth anchor that ran, they had me go places like sit on stage with the Beatles. In their first performance, I was literally on stage with them at a very young age. I started understanding the dynamics of when to lay back and when to come forward, when it was your time, when it wasn't. And I decided way back not to do nudity. I never wanted my children to see that.
You know what? I find too that a lot of women can just look gorgeous just in the way they dress.
Right.
Like, you were really stunning in that film. I thought Lisa Langels looked really beautiful in that film. She was made up in her punk rocker outfit, but
adorable.
I gotta say, I thought Lisa gave me goosebumps in a positive way.
I got it. And you know what? I predicted she'd be a big star too, because she had everything. She had charisma. You can't give that to somebody. They either have it. And I'm sure she went on to do a lot of work. I don't know what happened, but, you pick them out. They come in. When Michael J. Fox read for that part, we were desperate. We had so many people reading for it because he was going to be the good kid, the victim of the bully.
Yes.
And he was littler, not that Timmy Van Patten's huge, but he was a lot bigger. And Michael's, maybe, 5'6" or something. And anyway, Mark Lester was in Canada at the time prepping the film. We still hadn't gotten that character. We had Timmy, we had everybody else, and we were reading one person after the other. The casting person would call me in because I was a co-executive producer on it. I was sitting there, and finally, Michael J. Fox, who had not done his television show yet, walked in the door, and I was almost asleep when he came in. I was like, an arduous day of listening to all of this stuff. All of a sudden, I woke up because he took the words off the page. He didn't even change them. He made them real. They were so real that I said, oh, my God. I was beginning to think we had to rewrite the whole thing. He was so good that I couldn't contain myself hardly while he was reading because it was being I was on film or, video or whatever, and it was going to be overnighted or it's fast to Mark Lester. We didn't have the internet to work with.
No.
He would have had it in a minute. He could have seen it live streaming, but there it was. And there was no question that kid was going to get that part. He had done a lot of TV before that. He wasn't a newbie, but what a major talent. And he, from the very beginning in that film, I don't know if you agree with me, you're totally sympathetic to him.
Absolutely.
That brings back a very fond memory. And I have a lot of stories behind the scenes that I'm going to reserve.
Yeah.
The teaser.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you want to relay anything more about Elizabeth Taylor?
Yeah, and then we can sort of wrap it up because I got to get back on the set here. I mean, we're going to shoot a segment of my Beverly Hills Shaman in about an hour and a half, so I want to get ready for that. Okay, Liz Taylor. She arrives at General Hospital. We're in the cubbyhole, the dressing room. I see her little body. She's getting shampooed, and she asks. The girl wraps a towel around her head, the hairdresser, and Liz says to her, "Do you mind if I spend a moment alone with my friend here?" And she said, "No," and she walks away. And Liz says, "I have a problem." I said, "Well, what is it?" She said, "They want me to wear paste for my jewelry." She was noted of having the 32-carat diamond or whatever it was. That she had a collection of jewelry worth millions and millions of dollars. She said, "I am Liz Taylor. I don't wear paste." She said, "They think it's paste, but this is the real thing." I said, "Liz, you must be kidding." She said, "No, I'm not, dear." That was the opening day with Liz. Then my mind is racing. She's an Academy Award-winning actress, a legend. How is she going to do this 100-page show that we do at the pace we shoot and control what is happening? And we shoot 3 cameras, sometimes 4. So that was the question that was lingering around in my head. And there was the answer. I walked on the stage to watch her shoot. I wasn't in the scene. She had in her contract arranged 1 camera. So if she didn't like what was happening, she would just go, "Oh, we have to do that again. Sorry, dear." She controlled every shot, the whole thing, knew how the lighting was, and if there were other people in the scene, they were her family members and her people that were sitting around as extras. There were no hired hands there. She was playing to her familiarity, and she controlled it, and she was brilliant on the show. So those are some of my favorite stories. There are a lot of personal ones, too, that I had with Liz, with just laughing and her advice to a young actress coming up and doing what she needs to do. And she said, "Make sure you have friends that are on your team, and the rest will never matter."
And of course, you're allowed to plug your website on here. I know you do a lot of humor on your website. I mentioned to you off the phone there, I asked you if you ever taken a pie in the face. I hope sometime, actually, would love to see you do that. And that's one of my favorite jokes growing up.
Well, you know what? If I could get Belinda and Lisa, we could do one. And maybe,
I would love to see Lisa do it. I'm a big Lisa fan, big Belinda fan, yeah.
Right, email me how to reach Lisa, and if the opportunity comes up on our show to create some silliness there, I would love to do it, and maybe it should be a pumpkin pie or something.
I was going to tell you a story. You remember the Ice Bucket Challenge last year?
Yes.
There was a woman who lost her child to child cancer, And
Oh.
she said her son really loved the pie in the face, and she took a pie in the face, and she was the first one, and she started the Whipping Childhood Cancer. And you nominate so many people to take a pie in the face, and I got together with my co-host. I said, wouldn't it be great if we can get celebrities to do this? And I got together with my co-host, and we both took a pie in the face, and I nominated a bunch of celebrities. And I actually nominated a female journalist in Los Angeles, and who actually interviewed some of the people that I nominated. And I actually asked her before I did the video if I nominated her, would she do it? And she told me that I had to nominate her first. So we both got messed up, and I sent the video to her, and she goes, "Great video, but I'm not taking a pie in the face, but I hope it catches on though." And I was so angry with her, because she went on after that to interview Angelina Jolie, but I mean, I nominated like Emma Stone, Anna Kendrick, people I liked and admired that had comedic backgrounds. And I thought it was so sad that none of these other charities were allowed to take off too, and I would have loved to have seen a bunch of pie in the face videos. So if you get Belinda and Lisa to do a pie in the face video with you, I'd love to see that.
Well, that's a challenge. You've given us a challenge. We'll see if we can meet it. Anyway, I wanted to send a big love and hug out to your whole audience, and that if we didn't have people who cared about films, all of us are in it together. We perform for you, and you give us the feedback that is so enriching to our lives. And I've always had gratitude, because I'm one of the greatest fans of film. I will always. I've watched so many movies, and I know what it does to the human spirit. So
I was just going to ask, where could I go to get an autographed picture of you?
You know, I may have to send you one. I don't have all of that like everybody does. I've been so busy with my philanthropy with the kids and everything that I do for families that I do some of those autograph signing shows, but minimally. I just don't have the time because I'm shooting a show.
Actually, Belinda's at one now.
You give me your information, and we'll get you a photo.
I'll send you an email, and I'll send my.
And maybe I'll put one up on my website, so if there's anyone else out there that wants one, that we can start doing that. Because I know, there's ways they can get my picture, because I know people that have done it. But why make it so hard for everybody? We want to have a good time and make it easy.
Yes.
So anyway, a big hug to you. I want to thank you again. And if there's any more questions, and after you see Bobbie Jo, you ought to get Belinda and I on together.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Let's do it.
Could I get you to do a plug for my show before you hang up on us?
Absolutely. Tell me what to say.
Just say you're listening to Greg Gilbert at CHSR in Fredericton.
Okay. Hi there. You're listening to Greg Gilbert at CHR in Fredericton. Did I get the CHR right?
CHSR.
I have my dog barking, so I can't quite hear. Oh, you know why? The people are here for my...
That's okay. You know what? It was so wonderful to talk to you, and I will send you an email. And thank you so much for coming on here.
See, you can hear him barking. Is that okay?
Well, that's okay. Don't worry about it.
CHSR?
Yeah.
All right. Hi, you're listening to my dog barking on with Greg Fredrickson here at CHSR in
Fredericton.
Fredrickson. You got it. Okay.
Thank you so much, Belinda, and God bless you, and I will be in contact with you, and I'll let you...
Well, it's Merrie Lynn, but that's okay.
Oh, Belinda, oh, gee, I got you mixed up. And
that's okay. I know the dog. All right, I got to run. They're waiting for me.
Well, God bless you, and I'll be in touch.
Okay, you're going to cut this part out, right?
You want me to cut this part out?
Where it's all mixed up like this.
Actually, you know what? When I interviewed Cindy Morgan, she messed it up and she just said keep it in.
Well, you'll see if it's not distracting because, you know, you do what you want to do. It's your show.
Yep, but when it's done, I'll send it to you and you can post it wherever you want.
All right, blessings.
And when you get a chance, listen to the Lisa Langles interview I did.
Okay, I will. And give me her info, too.
I will.
All
Thank
right,
you,
good
Merrie
luck.
Lynn. God bless.